This is Mareli Scott, your authenticity host from South Africa. And welcome to episode 7 of my authenticity series. And today is called Authentic Voice Part 2. Last week, I felt like there was a lot of stones still unturned, so I decided to do a sequel. And I want to welcome Marina Nani again. She will be joining the conversation, and it's so fitting because she's the owner and the visionary and of Radio Works World, and her mission is to help everybody around the world, as many people as she can, to get their authentic messages and voices be heard. So, hello, Marina.
Mari, I'm so humbled by your kind words, and I'm so proud of you. Each week, you come over and you drop everything else, and you don't think of yourself. You are in good health. For all you know is that you have to deliver the message because there's somebody out there who needs it. And many times, I had this dream in my mind, and it was a young woman like yourself speaking up with the world. Over to you, Mareli.
Wow. Thank you, Marina, for the kind words. And I also want to say to the listeners that, like Marina said, I don't do this, like Marina as well. I don't do this to, get popular or get noticed, or I do this because I'm listening to my authentic voice, and I've realized that I have, a responsibility to get it out there and to inspire at least one person, even if it's just for one difference in someone's life. So this is why we're here, and this is why I'm also sharing my experience and my heart, and like Marina said, share is not something that I didn't study it. I don't have degrees for it. I studied something totally different. And this, all that I share is from my heart, and I hope that it can help someone. But let me start.
Please. I have pen and paper, and I hope our listeners do as well. And I know it's very exciting because each time I learn so much and I feel so powerful afterwards, and it's really like a feast to my soul. Over to you, Mareli.
I'm glad to hear that, and that's how I feel as well, talking about it. Just quickly to recap, last week uh, we talked about your authentic voice and how to find your authentic voice. And I also said that I believe if it doesn't come from your heart and it doesn't live in your heart, then it's not your message. That's not your authentic voice. And I hope to you that listened last week and listening again today, I hope that you um, took what I said and did something this past week and started to try and find your authentic voice and get your message out there. I hope you're busy with that. But today I want to focus more on the power of our words. And it's something that we often hear and read about in motivational quotes, and a lot of motivational speakers talk about it. So it's nothing new, I think, to the majority of us. But I'm thinking, how many times during a day do we actually focus on and are we conscious of what we are saying to other people and to ourselves, and even in our minds? And if you think about it, the world was created through words. So I believe that whatever you say, whether positive or negative, your words have the ability to create. And whatever you say, you create for yourself and in your life, and not in your own, just in your own life. I think in episode 2, I talked about the box, and this is also a way that you can put other people in boxes, and you can put yourself in a box and limit yourself in your life. And I wonder how often we realize that our words have the potential to direct someone's life or your own life. Um, and like I always also said previously, that for some reason we are preconditioned to be negative, and it's so much easier to be negative. And I used to, for many years, I used to be negative. But when I was negative and someone called me out on it, or I realized it, I would justify it by saying, "No, I'm not negative. I'm just realistic." And I would get, and I would justify that, and I would feel better. But deep down, I would know that I'm actually negative. Um, and yeah, so it's so important to focus on what we are saying, and that you create whatever you're saying. And we all know a lot of adults walking around with so many issues, so many problems in their lives, things holding them back. And many times when you trace it back, it gets down to something that was said to them by someone, maybe even just once, maybe while they were a child, and it impacted their lives, and a lot of times they didn't even realize it, and they kept dragging it along, and it stayed in their heads, and maybe got to the hearts, and it influenced the rest of their lives and the course of their lives. Even if you think about the story about Einstein, um, I read it somewhere. I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but that the teachers, wrote a letter to his mom saying, no, he's they can't school him. He's not very clever, and he will never make it amount to anything. And she decided, no, I'm not going to take that. And she told him, you know what? You can't go to school anymore. You are too clever for them. And that changed the whole direction of his life. I mean, look where he ended up just because of that and what she told him. And um, that caused him to believe it. And that's how his life turned out. Over to you, Marina.
Wow. I was thinking, Marily, that to me, no, it's not that it's easy to say, but it's true. My only reality is my dream. That's all I live for. And having a big dream, it's almost like choosing to save the dream and sacrifice yourself for the dream. It's like being in a situation where you could save yourself or save somebody else. So in a way, it's very similar. Instead of choosing me, I choose my dream. And I live for my dream. And I believe in the power of words. Actually, I wrote a book 2 years ago, The Simple Truth, The Power of Words. And it's when I realized how much words mean to me personally. Because you see, you can't change your circumstances, but you can change your thoughts. But to change your thoughts, you have to change the words. You have to choose different words. So for example, you could say to yourself, I want to make, just let's have a very, very transactional example, so our listeners will relate to. You are saying to yourself, I want to make enough money to pay my mortgage this month. Guess what? You are talking to your mind, and you are going to make enough money to pay your mortgage or your rent, nothing else. But when instead you are telling your mind, I'm going to make plenty of money, no matter how much I spend, I will be left with £100,000 into my account at all times. This is what your mind is going to deliver. So turning struggles into performances is all about understanding the power of your words. When you are saying to yourself, if I am making this month, let's say 100,000 rand, I'm going to help my brother to buy himself a house, or let's say just an example.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that you are doubting. You are telling your mind that you don't know. It's if. But
Yes.
instead, if you could say to yourself, when I'm generating 100,000 rand this month, at the end of this month, and you become very specific about it, I'm going to buy my house, my brother the house number 2 on Smith Road, let's say. I know in South Africa there are different, there are no postcodes, but so the more specific you become, and the more you pay attention to the word you are using to communicate with your mind, the better it is to trade your old self for your big dream, and you become the big dream, because there is
Yes.
nobody in between. And when there is nothing between yourself where you are right now and your big dream, it's for a very good reason. You have to grow your wings and fly. So I think that the words have the power to propulse you, to launch you into your dream, no matter how crazy your dream might be, no matter how wild is your imagination, no matter how how almost unimaginable is your wish. Because people are saying, I'm praying for a miracle. I, I don't believe in miracles, but I'm praying for a miracle. And guess what? You are the miracle. So when you say yourself, I'm the miracle, I've been waiting on myself to discover how powerful I am. And I'm delivering now my own wish to help other people to create better life choices or buy themselves a house, whatever it is that you want. And you become very technical about it.
Mm.
Then all these words are making sense. So it's not just for the sake of using big words, but using big words, great words, is moving you from where you are to where you want to be. It's almost like you could take the walk, and walk 20 miles, or you could jump on a plane and fly for 20,000 miles. This is what the words do to a human mind. And I experienced this many, many times, and I know that I'm not an expert on advising anyone how to use the words or about the power of words, but I experienced my own words, and I know how dramatic the result could be. And
Yeah.
everything you say to your mind, everything becomes a reality. If you are telling yourself, I only want enough money to pay rent this month, that's exactly how much you are going to have. And before I retired, when I was dealing with properties, and that was my only business, I was buying properties before they were built, and the developer wanted from me every single week, each Tuesday actually, at 12:30, I had to transfer into his account £10,000. So unless I will do that, and that was over a couple of years, I will lose everything I paid before.
Wow.
That was the deal. So of course he thought I'm going to fail.
Wow.
But to me, it was each week, he will call me like 10 to 6. That's why I wake up, no matter where I am in the world, I wake up 10 minutes to 6, because he'll call me 10 minutes to 6 in the morning and ask me very friendly, how are we doing today? Do we have 10,000 or not? So of course, sometimes I won't have it. I'll say, we do.
Wow.
And I will make it happen, because that was the amount I had to deliver, not to lose a lot more, a lot, everything basically.
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
so, so when I started, he believed that I'm not going to deliver, that I'm going to pay, and then I'm going to break my neck, which I didn't. So he banked on the fact that it's impossible to pay 10,000 every single Tuesday.
Mm.
And to me,
Wow.
it was a wild dream. But I start using the words that I needed, and all I had, they were my words, my own words, to help my mind to achieve a wild dream. So that's a very, very, very realistic transactional story, and it's true.
Yes.
And it's not that I heard it from somebody else, happened to me for a couple of years. And I know that when people talk about words, I think, oh, just words. But guess what? That's all you got.
Yes. Wow. And I mean, that's how we all communicate as well.
So the first communication you have is with your own mind. So forget
Yes.
everything else. Forget everybody else. Unless you create your message to yourself, to buy it yourself. And funny enough, I had this conversation with myself today about selling. What is holding people back from delivering their big dream, from turning their dream into reality, mainly is because they don't believe they are ready. They don't believe they are capable of delivering that dream to themselves. They don't buy it themselves. So how can you sell it to somebody else if you don't buy it yourself?
Yes.
And it's all about the words, the power of words, which each one of us have a moral duty to understand, because otherwise you will feel like a failure.
Yes. Yes. I'm thinking now, a lot of times when we talk about or hear about, your words have power, we tend to think, oh, okay, I need to be careful what I'm saying to people. But I think we need to shift our minds and think about how can I use it to my advantage. Because
Yes.
it's a tool in your hand that you can use. Whatever you want to create, you can do that. And
Yes.
I also think it's important to stop talking about your situation right now and start talking about how it is, and start talking about how do you want it to be. If you are in a financial crisis now, or you're without work, don't say, I don't have work, I can't afford this. And yes, it's true, it's reality, but don't talk about it. Talk about, like you also said, talk about what do you want. Realize and say, my situation is temporary, but by next week, this time, tomorrow, this is going to happen. This is what I expect. And start to do that. And if you can make a list and write as many times as you can, write I am. And whatever you write behind that will come true. And you need to repeat it every day. You can say anything that you want to be, what do you want from your life, how do you want to perceive, you can put after I am, and it will be the beginning of, first of all, talking to yourself. Secondly, you might not believe it. That's what you want, but you can't see how that's going to happen or how you're going to get there. But if you continue to do that and continue to repeat that, you will start to believe it and stop feeling stupid to do it. And if you can make that a habit. And another thing I realized today was thinking about tonight's show is um, sometimes the act can also have a big impact in our lives. It's not just what people say to us, don't hear, and that comes to validation. A lot of times you want to do something, and then you expect people to say, wow, that's amazing, how did you do that? Or I'm proud of you, or whatever it is. Or maybe you never heard I love you from your parents in your life, or I'm proud of you, anything like that. That can also have a big impact on our lives. And I think if we can start to um, let our own voice be so loud and positive in our lives, um, we need it to be so big and positive and important in our lives that it blocks out all the other noises, and that we get to a point where other people say something about you, um, it wouldn't matter, or you wouldn't rely on the validation of other people. It would it wouldn't be important enough for you, because you believe what you tell yourself, and I think that's one of the most difficult things to do, is not to rely on validation from others in some way, because that's how we were created. We want to hear well done, or um, I look up to you, or you inspire me, and things like that. And when we don't hear it, it can be difficult for us, and we might feel like we're failing, which is not the case. And on that subject, it's also important to remember to give validation to other people as well, where it's due, and not to keep it to ourselves, and to tell people, I appreciate you. I love what you're doing. You inspire me. I'm proud of you. Whatever, because you don't know what influence that can have on their lives, and the rest of their lives, and the direction their lives will go.
Wow, so true. So true. And you see, sometimes even a smile could change everything in the person in front of you, and actually change within yourself, because your mind takes orders from, even if you are witnessing something really terrible, if you smile, your mind is going to listen first to the orders you are giving, not the habitat you are in. And it's the same with words. So even somebody is shouting at you and trying to belittle you or bully you, you have to tell your mind that you are powerful, you are in control, you are very capable, and you are helping other people no matter what. So you don't leave that void to be filled with the wrong information and the wrong signal sending
Mm,
to your mind. And I think it's a
yes.
very simple choice. Fill the void with your own words, great words, or let others put their rubbish in. Because it's the habitat, it's the spiritual habitat you create for your own thoughts.
Yes.
And I love the way you said write down, because people think that if they go on their computer, they could type something, or they text thousands and thousands and thousands of words on their phone each day. I don't know if you've been to Japan, but people there, they never look at each other. They all the time, constantly, they text. And
Wow.
um, you see, when you write down, when you use handwriting, 7,000 parts of your body are taking part. So the message is
Wow.
that the engagement of your mind is far greater than texting or speaking. So I love what, each time you say write down this, maybe for other people it seems like something boring, but handwriting is a very, very important channel of communication. And
Wow.
I used to, when I was just foreigner with 3 children, nobody to ask, to exchange a word, let alone nice words. Or sometimes you wish you could exchange even bad words with somebody. Anyway, so at the time I got into this habit of writing 5 things I done in one day. And sometimes I was so tired, but I will stick to that. I will write down, I will scribble, these 5 things I done, taking the bus or taking the plane or whatever it was, like going back, or walking, or brushing my teeth, whatever it was. But 5 things I could instantly remember, I would write down, no matter how tired I was. And then, if you think that if you write 5 things you did um, in a week, that's 35 things you did, right? So if you multiply that with 52 weeks a year, that's 1,820 things you did. And if
Wow.
you do that in a decade, that's 18,200 things you did. Nobody can take that away from you. And you've written down those 18,000 200 things you did.
Wow.
And that over 3 decades, that's 56,600 things you did already. How can somebody tell you you can't do something, you are incapable, or you are stupid, or you are this and that, when you have the proof in front of you, you written down in 3
Yes.
decades 54,600 different things you did, day in, day out,
Wow.
all by yourself.
Wow. That's amazing. Whoa. I think we need to start doing that. And
So this is what saved me and kept me sane. And I had very, very tough times, thinking that maybe I'm going mad, maybe, and so what? You know, it's my madness. It's my dream. It's something that nobody can take away from you.
yes.
So keeping records of what you are doing is who you are. And sometimes you do so much you can't even remember what you did today, let alone yesterday. But guess what? If you go to that old notebook, which is perhaps faded by now because it's old, and you'll still see those things you do all by yourself. And this is the
Yes.
power of words.
Wow. Verena, before I say my last words,
No, not the last, but the key message for today.
yes, key message for today. So I want everybody to focus and be conscious of what they're saying to themselves on a daily basis, what they're saying to others. And before you say something, especially to someone else, ask yourself three things. Number one, is it kind? Number two, is it true? And number three, is it necessary for me to say this? That's
Wow.
I wanna leave you with.
Wow. Until next time, from both of us, be kind to yourself with absolutely no reason. And write it down. Goodbye.
Yes. Bye bye.